Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at some really cool designs on Pinterest. Before we get started, please make sure you are subscribed to support the channel. Okay, so really the entire point of these videos is to take a look at some different designs that are showing up on Pinterest. Obviously, I've got my own algorithm on my end. It's going to show some things that are not specifically poster design related, and then sometimes it just shows completely random things that I'm not looking for at all. But I want for you and me both to get some design inspiration and to get some ideas flowing. So let's take a look at this first one right here. I haven't sought anything out specifically, but I just want to take a look at some things and analyze a few things. So let's copy this image and we're going to bring it into Illustrator. So I just enlarge this just to make it a little bit easier to work with. I'm not going to worry too much about the artboard size. But this is a very interesting graphic that we've got going on here. And if you want to do something like this, I'll show you how this particular one is done. All right, so the first thing we're going to recreate is this circle right here. And we're just going to use our ellipse tool. And then we'll just bring this full size right here. And I'm going to paste down another instance of this just so we can get those colors there. So we're just going to color drop on that blue. And now I'm going to hold down Option and Shift to bring this over. If you're on Windows, it'll be Alt and Shift. Now let's go ahead and color drop on this orange. And we're just going to send this backward. And now what I'm going to do is hit Copy and Paste in front. And we're going to bring this over here. And now we're going to send that also to the back. And let's color drop on this last circle right here. So it should look like this. You've got the lighter orange in the back here, and then this orange, and then the blue in the front. And we're going to grab both of these and activate our blend tool. Now let's go over here and double click on the blend tool. And we're going to change this to specified steps. And I didn't actually take a look to see how many there are, so I'm just going to say 4. So that's a quick way to get these different transparencies down. Obviously, these colors are not matching the original, so what we're going to do is click on this instance, go up here to Object and Expand. We're going to expand Object and Fill and hit OK. And now we're going to ungroup everything. So we're going to keep the first orange and the last orange the same color. And we're just going to color drop on these over here just to get those exact same colors. So that's how you can lay down those circles right here. And then what we want to do now is create this type of weird shape. I'm guessing it's a microphone. So I'm going to activate my pen tool. And now we've got this stroke color right here, but we want to hit X, hold down our eyedropper tool, and click on Shift and click. So that way we have that color. And now we're going to come up here with our pen tool. And I'm just going to click right here in the center. I'm just going to kind of guess right here. We can actually move it here in a second. And then we're just going to move this right down here. And now with our direct select tool, we're going to make a selection over these 2 anchor points and then just move those to the center. Okay, now I'm going to select this, and now I'm going to hit A to activate the direct select tool. And we're going to bring that corner down to about right there. And now we can increase our stroke. It looks like it's going to be around 80 points. And let's go into our stroke panel right here and click on Round Cap and Round Join. And we'll need to bring this in right here. Just kind of adjust that real quick. And now we'll repeat the same process for the other shapes. Okay, so we have those laid down, and now what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab my rectangle tool. Let's make sure that we swap over to that fill right there. And we're going to fill this in over here on this side. And now grab these 2 corners and fully round those. And now I'm going to lay down a rectangle right up here. It doesn't really matter too much with our placement because we're going to use another rectangle to cut into that shape there. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. Let's swap the fill and the stroke just temporarily. And we're going to bring this over here. And now let's grab these 2 anchor points and fully round that up. We can go back to the solid on that. And now I'm going to do another rectangle here. And then let's duplicate this. Let's swap the fill and that stroke there. And now we're going to grab just that top right corner and bring it down all the way. And now we'll go back to this one. Swap that back to a solid. And now we're going to grab both of these, go to our Pathfinder, and click on minus front. So we'll need to make sure that we adjust this anchor point right here and get that lined up with this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab these 4, go up to Object and Expand, click on Fill and Stroke, and we're just going to line that up right there. And now we'll do the same thing that we did before on the bottom areas. Okay, so as you can see, this poster has you using the Pathfinder a lot, and that's something you want to really get used to in Illustrator. All right, let's see what else we got. Pinterest refreshed on me without me asking it to. Pinterest. Can't stand it when you do that. There were a few designs that I wanted to look at, and I'll never get them back. So now I'm being forced to look for new designs, but I'm not bitter. Okay, this is a really cool design right here. I'm not exactly sure how you would go about it in Illustrator. Looks like we've got some paths going on this way, but in terms of getting that 3D look where we actually have that flow where we're going in front and behind and coming back around, very cool. Can definitely be done in Illustrator. I just don't know exactly how I would approach it. I just love how that it has that three-dimensional look to it. I think it might be a little bit cooler if the front of this were a little bit more pointed, but obviously they're probably matching the actual train that they have over in London. But this is a really cool design and an excellent way to get a little bit of dimension in your posters. All right, and just like always, just about anything with orange and green I'm gonna click on, and that combination of colors is really cool in this particular design, especially with that beige background. This isn't something that you see too much of. Usually when you see orange, it's kind of balanced out with blue, but I love how they're balancing out with green here. And this overlap here is really cool, how you've got a little bit of a darkened green happening when those two shapes overlap each other. You can easily achieve that with the Pathfinder. In fact, let me show you exactly how to do that real quick. So we'll lower our opacity down to 50%, and I'm not going to worry about recreating the entire thing. I'm just going to recreate these two circles here. So we'll go to our ellipse tool, and we'll just go to that outer circle there, and we'll make another copy and bring it over here. We'll bring up our stroke to match that. Now we can bring this over here, and let's color drop on that orange. Make sure you hold down Shift when you're holding that down so that you color drop the stroke and not the fill. Okay, so we have that orange and green overlapping. So now what we're gonna do is select both of these. We're gonna go over here to Object and Expand. We're gonna expand the fill and the stroke and hit OK. And we're gonna go to the Pathfinder and click on Divide. So now we can move this over here. Let's get rid of our original artwork here. So what Divide does is it actually divides up each one of those sections where the paths are overlapping each other. So now with our Direct Select tool, we can click on this area that is overlapping, and let's activate our eyedropper, and we're just gonna click on this color right here. So now just that one section where the two paths are overlapping each other, you can make that the darker green, or you can make it any color you'd like. So we can also select this one and go over here and just make it a random color. Just make it blue, and then we can make this one pink. Your Pathfinder opens up a lot of possibilities with different strokes and fills. And if you're an absolute beginner in Illustrator, this is a really good exercise for you. It's very simple. So what we're gonna do is drop the opacity down to 50% and make sure that we lock the layer. Let's go over here to our ellipse tool, and let's just go right here to the center. It doesn't have to be exact, but we're gonna hold down Option and Shift. If you're on Windows, you'll hold down Alt and Shift. So now what we're going to do is hit S on our keyboard. That's going to bring up our scale tool, and I want you to hit Enter on your keyboard. Make sure that Preview is checked, and we're going to make sure that Uniform is checked, and we're going to increase this to 160% and hit Copy. And now we're going to do the same thing again by hitting Command or Control D on our keyboard. And obviously that made it a little bit larger. So what we're going to do is scale this down to right there. So let's switch over to Outline View, and you can see that we actually have 3 different circles going on here. So let's bring this over here. And our largest circle is actually in the foreground, but we want that to go to the background. So go up here and go to Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. And now we'll go to the next one down and just go up here to Object, Arrange, and Send Back. So our small one is now in the front, our medium one is in the middle, and our large one is in the back. And let's unlock everything. Bring up the opacity to 100%, and we're just going to color drop here on these circles. And that's a really good first exercise for Illustrator beginners. All right, let's see what else we've got here. I'm just going to scroll and see if there's anything that I can see that jumps out at me. Okay, here's an excellent example of perspective right here. It actually looks like we are looking at a wall that is kind of vanishing off into that distance there. And I don't know what this poster is communicating because I can't read this language, but it is visually communicating, I would guess, maybe some kind of an event, maybe a sporting event. I'm not entirely sure. This could also be mountains. It could represent something very abstract like biking. I have no clue. But the use of color and the execution in color theory make this a fascinating design. Anything that makes you want to reach out and touch it is always a good thing in my opinion. This right here is a really cool design. We've got like a halftone pattern going on right here, but this looks like it may be a customized font. If it's not, then they probably did a little bit more work on it to kind of give it a little bit more dimension there. But I love how we have this shading right here. This reminds me of gradient textures going all the way back to Deluxe Paint. And that's where I started when I was around 8 years old, using Deluxe Paint 2, I believe, on my IBM 286. Gradients in that program were not smooth at all. They were actually very rough. And this right here reminds me exactly of those gradients. But anywhere that we have overlapping, we have that really harsh gradient, and I just love this. So if I were going to recreate this, I would obviously create the structure of it in Illustrator and then bring it into Photoshop. And it's possible that they're using Dissolve as a blending mode on this. I'm not entirely sure because I obviously don't have the layered PSD file, but it would be a fun challenge to try to recreate something like this. Let's bring back stuff like this that has a lot of texture going on. This is something that we saw back in the early 2010s, but we've really made a big shift into moving everything into solids and not really doing a lot with textures and patterns and things like that. I really want to see more of stuff like that. This right here is a really nice design, and I want to show you something that you can do in Illustrator to quickly redo something like this, and it's actually very simple to do. So just like in the last document that we recreated, we're just going to recreate the bones of this. I'm just going to do this really quickly. Okay, so now that we have the structure in place, let's say that we want to do a little bit of a different color scheme. So let's make this pink. And I'm not going to worry too much about this because it doesn't really matter what we make the colors. It's more of the technique that we're going to be using. Okay, not the best color palette in the world, but it doesn't really matter too much. So let's say that you want to darken what's on the right side of this, just like we have in the original, but you're not exactly sure, one, what colors to make them, or two, how to go about it. All you have to do is grab your rectangle tool, and we're just going to create a rectangle that covers the right side of this, and we're going to change that to black, and now we're just going to lower the opacity to about 50%. So now we're going to select everything and go over here to Pathfinder and click on Divide. And then with our Direct Select tool, we're going to grab this shaded area and just click on Delete. So obviously it's a little bit darker than what we're wanting, but it still gets the same result, and you can see how it's done. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me in this Pinterest session today. I hope I taught you a few things in Illustrator. If you want me to cover anything you saw in this video in more detail, just let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.